We did not know this about the New York Jets until right now, as in a shocking update regarding the former regime for this New York Jets team. They have been actively sabotaging the Jets to this day, and now Darren, Mougey, and Aaron Glenn have to clean this up in a way that has absolutely been destroying the Jets from the inside out, and we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris here. We're going to jump right into things. As always, if you guys are part of that 60% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, make sure to subscribe. You guys have been killing it recently. We are on that grind right now. We are getting these videos out every single day in regards to the New York Jets. All the latest and greatest updates on the Jets are coming your guys' way. But let's jump into the video. There is a lot to go over on this New York Jets team. As when the former regime left with these two guys who both head coached the Jets at different points last season with Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich, along with the departure of Joe Douglas, there was a lot of feelings of relief and just a totally new situation that the Jets were going to come in, and with the new regime, with Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey, what we've seen is a team that wants to build the right way, build through young players, form a culture, form a winning environment, and go from there instead of artificially building something. And so far, the results have been very good. What we've seen thus far is the Jets bring in a multitude of young talent when the only 30-year-old they signed is Josh Reynolds, who has spent time with both Mougey and Glenn throughout his career and understands what the Jets are doing here, and also finds himself in a position to get a bigger role with the Jets offense that really has just one true wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, who's a real talent. Now, Allen Lazard is on this team and will get some burns still, but right now Josh Reynolds looks like the number 2 wide receiving option, while Arian Smith, Jets rookie, is in a good position to really get things going as well. However, what we're seeing right now is absolute sabotage from the former Jets regime in regards to young player, a young player, I should say, a guy who had so much potential coming into the NFL, and that is none other than Malachi Corley. Corley has been overlooked throughout his Jets tenure. And look, I get it. He was someone who was picked high up and then never really got a chance with the Jets going into last season. Something that felt strange. The Jets wanted to trade up for Malachi Corley and almost picked him in the second round because they believed in Corley a ton. He's called the Yak King for a reason because his yards after catch are great. Now, there was concerns about his route running when he came out of college, but at the same time, what we saw was a guy in Corley who has a ton of potential and was seen as a guy who could very much become that Deebo Samuel-esque player who's just a hybrid guy and is going to do everything right. He's a big-bodied receiver who can really get things going once he gets the ball in his hands. He's very athletic. He's very strong. He's tough to bring down, and he showed that at Western Kentucky. When he was there for 4 years, the first season he didn't really play, but after that, things started to get real. He had 73 receptions as a sophomore, really a freshman because he had his redshirt season first, but he had 7 touchdowns in that span already, getting 9.5 yards per reception and 691 yards in his 73 receptions. He was great in that span. He looked really good. And then that sophomore season in 2022 is when things got insane. Corley had 101 receptions in his 14 games. That's 12.8 yards per reception and got 1,295 yards. Both those receptions and receiving yards were the most of anyone in the entire CUSA conference. And that showed already that Corley was going to be someone who was going to be very exciting to watch going forwards. And he did get a lot of NFL draft interest come that year, but he stuck around Western Kentucky for another season so he could be a junior and come out, and he still had a good season. Now, he did go backwards a little bit, but he did play less. Regardless, his yards per reception went down, his receptions in general took a dip, and it was the 2 extra games, definitely didn't help anything, but he did get under 1,000 yards again, but still looked great. They had back-to-back seasons of 11 touchdowns, and in 2023, his 11 touchdowns were the most in the CUSA conference as well. So what we're seeing right there is a guy in Corley who also had a couple rushing attempts. In that excellent 2022 year that he had, he was phenomenal, getting 92.5 yards per game, and also rushed the ball at 7.9 yards per attempt throughout that season as well. Now, again, the touches went down a little bit in 2023, but the Jets loved Malachi Corley coming out of the draft, and they were super excited when they got a chance to pick him. However, the sad truth with it is they never even used him, and Rich Cimini discussed this recently. Corley's career is on life support. As Samini said, for all the draft day fanfare, Malachi Corley was never embraced by the previous coaching staff, which noticed immediately that his route running lacked precision, likely the byproduct of having limited route tree at Western Kentucky University. His maturity also came under scrutiny, with some in the organization privately questioning his approach, according to people with knowledge of the situation. So look, yes, we do turn towards this coaching staff and wonder what the hell they were doing with Malachi Corley. Why weren't they working with him at all? We know that the Jets coaching staff last year had a big issue. Their offense was not creative because Aaron Rodgers didn't want it to be creative. Rodgers wanted an aired out offense where he was going to be passing the ball and he was going to be the focal point and everything was going to be about Aaron Rodgers, a team that had good running backs, specifically having Breece Hall, but not using him fully because the Jets opted to say, you know what? No. We're going to air it out. We're not going to use run plays. We're not going to use a ton of play actions. We're not going to use RPOs. We're not going to use a modern NFL offense at all. And a guy like Malachi Corley, who is built more for a modern NFL offense more than a offense that's 10 years old, is clearly going to have an issue. And that's what happened with Corley. He wasn't set up in a place to succeed. Yeah, there could be drag routes and stuff, but he didn't get a chance to get on the field. And yes, maybe some of that was due to maturity issues, and that's a problem. I'm not saying it's not, but at the same time, what we saw was Malachi Corley find himself in just a poor situation that now we look towards this new regime to fix. We know Aaron Glenn's going to run a modern, run-heavy offense. However, Darren, Mougey, and Aaron Glenn didn't draft Corley. They don't owe Malachi Corley anything, and they don't feel like they owe him anything. They're going to roll with Arian Smith over him. They're going to roll with Josh Reynolds over him because those are the guys they brought in who they believe in. Now, Glenn has said multiple times that they have plans for Malachi Corley, but he never specified on them, as he shouldn't. What are you going to do, give away the game plan? But at the same time, it makes you think, they're still figuring it out. And Glenn said as much, saying we're still figuring out how to properly use him. Now, Samini also mentioned that this was on the coaching staff, though, because, as he said, the entire building was under intense pressure to win, and the coaches didn't trust Corley enough to put him in the game, especially with the ultra-demanding Rodgers running the show. Corley played only 9 games, just 83 snaps on offense, and finished with 3 receptions for 16 yards. He was a healthy scratch in 5 games. Because he didn't play special teams, it was difficult to put him on the game day roster. Now, here's the thing. Corley's going to have to play special teams this year. He's going to have to show up and say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to try to become an NFL player. I want to be an impact player on the Jets. I don't want my career to go like it looks like after the first year. And he had a great play where he was going to have a touchdown against the Texans, but he dropped the ball a foot before the end zone, or a yard before the end zone, and obviously it didn't count. And that was a huge problem. That's what we remember Malachi Corley for as of last season. However, he still has time to change the narrative. He still has time to go out there and just change what people think about him. And that's also going to be up to the regime. How much are they going to give him a chance? There's going to be a run-heavy offense. Is Corley going to get any chances to run the ball? He's not going to get many. So in practice, especially preseason, when he'll get a chance to get on the field in those fourth quarters, he's going to have to do whatever it takes. Guys, what do you think is going to happen with Malachi Corley? Let me know in the comments down below. I don't know what the hell that just was. I think that was a basketball highlight. It was from Nick's Digest, so that's great. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.